Are we live? Can you check?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay. Hola Madridistas,
Wait,
welcome
let
back
me
to
just play the intro, if that's all right.
my bad. Okay, right.
Yep, done with the intro.
Hola Madridistas, welcome back to another episode of Let's Be a podcast. Big up Sahil, big up people in the chat, big up people who will be tuning in later. Big up our sponsors, Fanatics and Manscaped. Go check them out. Manscaped. The code is LBA20 to get 20% off and free shipping. The link is in the description below. Go check them out. Pioneers of below the waist grooming for men, but they also pack a huge catalog of products, ranging from nose trimmers, beard waxes, lingerie, you name it. Probably Manscaped has it. Fanatics also pretty well known official partners of La Liga and Real Madrid. Go check them out for official Real Madrid merch, NFL mark, NASCAR mark, you name it. Fanatics is very well versed in a lot of sports. Um, I think they do ship worldwide as well. Got offers, site-wide offers, pretty much every week, ranging from 25% off, free shipping, and exclusive offers for uh, a certain club mark as well. So yeah, even if you're not completely buying it for a Madridista, you could also check out their mark for other clubs as well. But yeah, man, big up Fanatics as always. Let's get straight into it, shall we, Sahil? The game was pretty boring, right? To kick things off, we
Hmm.
didn't expect it to be uh, a dull affair, right? Considering what was at stake and what shape both teams are actually coming into this week. Um, yeah, talk to me, Sahil. When we actually saw the lineup, which we kind of predicted, especially with Kamavinga being out for so long and Mbappe not in the equation, the diamond was on the cards. Um, we handled, although it was pretty scrappy stuff, we handled the first half pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to all the everything about the lineup later on because
Yeah.
that's a different thing in itself. But speaking of the occasion itself, like it's a Madrid derby, and that's always like a special game.
Hmm.
Probably like the most important game of our season so far.
Hmm.
And even apart from that, there's a lot of context going into this fixture, particularly because over the past 1 year or so, or even more than that, you can say that
Hmm.
uh, Real Madrid's only like kryptonite of sorts has been Atletico Madrid, and the way
Yeah.
they sort of set up against Real Madrid each time they've faced us has been commendable to say the least. And then there's all this there's a different story that's brewing apart from like the football, right?
Yeah.
It's off the pitch, and it's everything to
Yeah.
do with the ugly side of the game that we saw on full display tonight.
Hmm.
That thing had been like, again, it had been something that built up, and we as football fans obviously hoped that it would not happen.
Hmm.
In hindsight, it had been building up to a point where we should have probably seen it coming. So there's two different like aspects to it, and all of that just brings it actually brought for a very, in the end, what was it, like a fierce football game. But obviously, like you said, the first half was a dull affair. Um, both teams I felt like were pretty like it was a cagey game. So both teams, because we were in the changed 4-4-2 and they were as always in the 4-4-2, it was pretty man to man, like for like shape going against one another. And the fact that Real Madrid did not want to concede first, that showed in the way we played, because I felt like in the first half the boys out there, they played with the Champions League game in like the corner of their eye, and even Atletico Madrid, you can say that like the fixture conversation with them always comes up because they've played just 3 nights ago, and that's a
Yeah.
thing that's been brought up time and again. That we had 5 days to prepare for a Madrid derby, and they had just like 2 or 3. So again, because of all these factors, the first half made for a very pretty like boring uh like half of very ineffective football from both sides, to be honest. And even the stuff that we tried as a unit, it didn't seem to
Yeah.
come apart from like a couple of instances that I remember.
Hmm.
Again, this resulted in like a very cagey affair, like you said.
I would beg to disagree. I'm pretty sure that the Lille game, wasn't really on the players' minds whatsoever. This is the game of the month, literally. This is the game of
And
the
it just felt like
first couple of months of the
like
season. We weren't at it
we weren't at that pace.
because of what happened last season. It's pretty sensible to think so, because the fear, the inadvertent fear of what might happen if we lose again here. It is sort of it is at this point a sort of a demon that we can't really shake off. Atleti at home, and we try to play safe. We try to contain them. We try to limit as much of the unpredictable nature of the game, as possible. Going into this game, everyone knows it's a derby. Things can get scruffy. Things can get out of control. So I think it was a damage limitation kind of, on handbrakes performance in the first half from both sides. Atleti, if you notice the first 5 to 10 minutes, they were completely camped in their own half. They were like, we are completely going to let Real Madrid take control, let them have, lion's share of possession and dictate the game.
But
Uh, yeah.
like just to argue that against that point,
Hmm.
I feel like in moments, even Real Madrid with the ball, were not doing as much as Atletico would have done had they had that bit of possession. And I felt like
Hmm.
Atletico had more possession than they would have expected in that first half, or more than what anybody would have
Yeah,
expected.
yeah. As the game went on, of course. Mm.
Yeah, and so that forces me to think that to an extent we didn't want to concede first, because we know that every time Atletico, like they are the team to not concede first against.
Yeah,
They get the lead, they can camp on that and they can defend the shit out of that lead to the very
100%.
last like seconds of the game. So you do not want to concede first, and that's a mentality that like I don't want to say that I can get behind, but I can understand.
Hmm.
Uh, but also it doesn't justify the fact that we didn't completely like take the game to them in the first half as much as we should have.
So many sloppy passes, so much careless giveaways of possession, from veterans. Let's be honest, Militao, what is he, 25? He is a veteran of the game, irrespective of how many years of experience he has at the top flight level. Like, he has played in Madrid since what, like 2019. Like, he has had a couple of shocking moments, especially up against who was it down the left flank? I think it was Rodrigo de Paul. Like, and he made a very silly challenge as well. Like, right after it, fella Mendy. How many instances should we point out where Mendy completely had a loss of head, giving away freebies, 5 yard freebies to literally anyone who crosses path. Like, I really can't see why a team of the caliber we have struggle to actually maintain possession neatly, because we are a side, let's be honest, under Carlo, like, we are a side that is very adept, very keen on keeping tidy possession and really outplaying, tiring our opponents, right? um Tonight's game was a perfect opportunity to basically play the drill, play the play the play the safe drills, basically inviting Athletic on and tiring them out for the entirety of the first half. But instead, what we saw was both teams struggling, both teams trying their level best to have some semblance of cohesion, some semblance of okay, this is the way we want to approach tonight. And this game needed a goal, like we saw in the second half. This game needed a goal to basically burst onto life. Yeah, man. Very surprised the way Atleti is set up, basically with Alvarez down the left, and Sorloth and Griezmann kind of being their focal point.
Yeah, absolutely. And uh, as much as we would want to say that it didn't work for them, because
Hmm.
again, eventually Soloth was subbed off early and
Yeah,
Alvarez eventually was subbed off as well. But I would like to think that it was more of a damage control move, because on that left hand side for Atleti, they tend to go up and down with the left back a lot
hmm,
more than they do with the right back.
yeah,
Uh, so I would like to think that that was more of a damage control for then Carvajal, someone like Carvajal or Valverde racing down the right wing, especially even in a game like today's where Luka Modric was on the field,
yeah,
right? And this
yeah.
guy Modric, as much as the entire like as a unit we underperformed, Modric, I feel like he was there, right? He
He
strings on
stepped
that,
up. Yeah,
and yeah, he stepped up for like big time, man. Uh, the fact that Militao was the left center back yet again confused me, because we mentioned this the other day, and
mm,
it was a Vasquez thing, right?
yeah,
Day when
yeah.
Militao was shifted, and then we
Carlo
thought,
was asked this question, and he himself said in the press conference that they were uncomfortable, so I had to switch back later on. But yeah, I just sent a message
that
to
is one
Francesco
thing I
as
did
well
not understand, because
because
in
I
terms
wanted
of
to know, just like you.
yeah, in terms of like build up play and getting the ball through the midfield, like out of the defense and through to the midfield, I felt like we were lacking big time
Hmm.
on the left hand side,
Hmm.
and that was
Yeah.
partly because Milita was there and not Rudiger, and that's something uh, that probably they were not comfortable with again. And again, on the left hand side, I would like to mention that the fact that Bellingham was basically isolated away from all of the players that he usually links up with and
Hmm.
like lines with best. That again was me that again it was because the 4-4-2 forced Ancelotti to push Bellingham away into that left hand side role.
Yeah.
Uh, and I do not blame him for it, but this was in particular one of the reasons why our gameplay just looked flat, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And to
But
be honest,
despite that, Bellingham had a few, bright moments
he did
when
on
he
his
tried
own,
to
but
link up.
he did on his own, and I don't think there were that many moments where he tried to link up in that first half. But later, as the game went on, Vinicius moved more towards
Centrally.
the left side. No, no, no. He was central in the beginning, and then he moved more towards the left, like we saw with the goal, right? And that's when Bellingham was actually afforded more like space in the central areas, and
In fact, Vinicius was actually pretty flexible because even if you notice after the goal, like his average position was somewhere central. Rodrigo
yeah,
took up a
yeah,
lot on the left side as well to see the
yeah,
game out.
in that sense, we didn't really play with a striker today. And that
Yeah.
probably like harmed us more than it did like any good for us. But that's another like topic for itself. And it's just yeah worth mentioning that Bellingham being played out of possession, Militao especially being played out of possession, just against Atletico, you do not want to change so much in your
Mhm.
formation. And it's obviously unfortunate that we've lost Mbappe.
Yeah.
But I feel
Do
like
you think the switch is basically to compensate for a guy like Modric, to compensate for
for his
him?
inefficiencies, yes, yes, it
Yeah.
has to be, because otherwise you
Mm.
would like again playing Arda Güler is not a question, right? Or playing someone else, like just even if Brahim was there, I wouldn't start him over Modric, uh, because Modric, like practically he was there in every phase of the game, and he did really well to clean up after Tchouaméni and after Valverde. If everywhere they messed out, even though Tchouaméni and Valverde in their own right were pretty good tonight.
Hmm.
So you can't question that performance from Modric, but was it to compensate for his inefficiencies? Probably, yes, to switch to the 4-4-2 and not to, basically have Bellingham higher up. Uh,
Yeah.
but it also could have been something else. Like I don't know why he would have like why Ancelotti would have thought that Bellingham out wide would have helped.
Hmm.
But yeah, it just didn't work out the way it was supposed to.
Like I would like to always think that going into a big game, especially the magnitude of the El Derby and what preceded this fixture, especially in our league form to kick off the season and what happened last year, we would have a bit more nerves about us. I know injuries to key players isn't really ideal, and Carlo is still kind of struggling to bring out a distinctive identity for this new look side this season, especially with the loss of Cruz. But trying something out just for Alaves, and we all saw how we kind of managed to ride out that game. Although you could argue that Vallejo was in the equation for the large part of the decapitation that happened at the end. But then again, trying this switch all of a sudden for a game of this magnitude, where clearly people could see, laymen just like you and me, or Jacob, who pointed it out first, could see that our ball progression, especially down the left, was struggling. Um, we should have done better. We should have, because Atleti, for all their signings, all their firepower they seem to have mustered up this season, they look flat, even flatter than us. Let's be honest. Like throughout the
Yeah.
game, like Sahil, like
And to be
who
honest,
would you
they
say?
were better last season
Yeah,
after spending
by
so much
far,
money.
by far, they look like a much more coherent side last season.
True.
Like throughout the game, side, like who would you argue created the more clear cut chances? It was us all the
Yeah.
way through, all the
Even
way
though
through.
it was not as many as we would have liked, but
Mm-hmm.
still us.
100%. Like we are solely to blame for basically fumbling the bag, because let's be honest, the Vinicius chance, right? Fede spot shots, Rodrigo basically placing it over the bar, where uh, a bit more precision would have probably caught Oblak out by surprise. um so many chances where a slight lack of indecisiveness cost us, because let's be honest, even when we scored the goal, like we were the side clearly on the ascendance. Even after we got the goal, like Atleti, yes, they had a bit more punch to what they threw at us, but they still looked vulnerable on the break. They were very keen on protecting this deficit, as much as playing pragmatically, as they could. My
Yeah.
only gripe is people claiming that Carlo basically, held this team back with the substitutions. Like, let me put this record straight, Sahil, right? Like, I don't know which side of the fence you're on.
Mm.
I don't know if you're, with the side that Carlo basically didn't have to pull off, threats like Vinicius, who could have really helped us keep the ball at the half towards the closing minutes. Or you're on the other side of the spectrum, where Carlo came out and said players were tired, we just provided what the game needed. For me, I would side with Carlo this time, because like, although it might seem like he's kind of patronizing the whole situation and defending his team, I would like to think that no matter who he sends on, this team should have enough in their in their metal, in their you know in this straight smartness, in a way, to kind of see out this game. Let's be honest, the way Atleti basically carved out that final opportunity was comical, man. Like, how can you let a guy, a Correa, who is known for really finding last minute winners week in week out, basically it's his bread and butter, right? You can't let that man basically run across you to close out the game. Like,
I agree.
Militao and Rudiger has to completely be
Yeah,
held
they have to
accountable.
look at themselves. Yeah, I agree. Because Ancelotti was not playing in centre back, and this time they don't have, say, Vallejo to blame, right? So it's just, yeah, like you said, it's
100%.
symbolic defending, but the lack of like wanting to kill the game off after the first goal was also concerning to me, because this is just happening week
We are
in, week.
never clinical, style. That's the biggest thing, right? We are never a side that basically puts a team to bed when the game demands it. We just slack away until a major error is committed by the opponent, and then we kind of feast on it.
But
That's
then,
the way this Carlo side
now that you
operates.
mentioned that,
Mm.
then what's the difference between, like, I know there's a difference, but then if we continue to think that way, and if we continue to play that way, what is the difference between us and Atletico? Because Atleti were not going to come out attacking unless we
Yeah.
scored. The only reason they came out and played at us in the final, what, 10, 12 minutes was because we were 1-0 up. And they were more than happy to go, let us go away with the 0-0, right?
Yeah.
So then
That's a
I
very
can't
valid
stand behind.
argument.
I can't stand
Right?
behind not wanting to finish the game. I can't
Yeah.
stand behind, like, again, damage control is one thing, but completely letting off and losing, almost like losing those, like, this is 2 points lost to me. That's why I say
Mm.
losing 2 points. Losing 2 points like that,
Yeah.
uh, that is just a testament to the mentality that our players, like, I know we're well known for our mentality in those dying moments and all that, but the mentality that we have as a unit after going 1-0 up is just symbolic to me.
It's very it's very lackadaisical. Let's be honest. We have
Asking to
seen
be
this.
asking to
Yeah.
be killed, right?
Yeah.
Asking for the
Yeah.
opposition to come at us.
Yeah. It's basically asking for it, like you just said, because opportunities present themselves, especially for a side like us who rely on fast, really pacey players up top. When we score first, oppositions just present itself. Like that's pretty much how we operate, right? Like when we score the first goal, floodgates most usually open up, but then we rely on like I said earlier, some heavy slices of luck, or either big brain fast from the opposition to really put the game to bed. Like, can you really blame Vinicius for not finishing off some of his chances? Can you blame Rodrigo for not being decisive? Like, I can't really, because they tried their best. Some of the interplay was really good.
We barely
Once
had any clear-cut chances, Sunil.
I know. Once the
So
second
many of
half
those
kind of rolled on,
chances, so many of those shots were basically half chances, right?
half chances,
Created
yeah,
out
yeah,
of
yeah.
nothing. So you can't
But it
blame them
was,
for missing half
yeah,
chances and, like, shots that were not meant to be there. If they were
100%,
clear-cut 1v1s, or like a tap in or
yeah,
something, I would have, like, in the box. No,
yeah.
that sort of opportunity simply didn't, like, present itself.
Compared to
Atletico,
the first half, it was a bit more optimistic, right? The chances,
I do agree, but still
Mm.
not at the level that we say even
Yeah,
created against Alaves.
yeah.
At the
But the
gills that
quality of
against Alaves.
opposition is completely different. Atleti
I
just
do agree, but
yeah.
you still have to
At
take
home as well.
somewhat. You still have to take somewhat of an initiative. Even playing away, still have to take, like, you know that this is an opposition that has a knack of doing this. They are
Mm.
the masters of the dark arts.
Yeah,
So you must not let them. You either go full in on your defensive side, which we
yeah.
didn't, even though the substitutions were sort of, they made sense to that defensive approach where we brought on two defenders and then we hoped that we would close the game out, and we
Hmm.
didn't. I feel like we didn't fully commit to that idea because,
Yeah.
again, Korea was free to run through, and our defensive line in that moment was simply too high.
I think the intention to commit to the idea was there, but then it's a complete. It's basically the back four ball watching, right? It's completely them switching off in a matter of a couple of seconds,
No, exactly. So
because
execution is a part of that, right?
mm,
So the fact that we couldn't execute closing or finishing the game out is, again, it goes to say that we didn't commit to the idea fully, to me.
100%, 100%. I would go back again to some of the chances we created. If you remember Jude Bellingham, um, going out wide and basically trying to cross the ball to Carvajal, which is kind of a similar pattern where Vinicius actually assisted Militao for that goal as well.
Hmm.
Like, if you actually deepen, our best chances came when we created an overload and crossed it to the other wing, and
Hmm.
hoped and prayed someone actually got on the end of it. But down the middle. Like it was a gaping hole at times. Modric actually, Modric and Tchouaméni to an extent. Tchouaméni still positionally, man, leaves a lot to be decided. It's a question that needs a lot more evidence to actually uh, you know digress a bit clearly. For
But I
me,
would like to add
Tchouaméni.
that tonight,
Mm,
tonight,
mm,
Tchouaméni, he was basically tasked with man marking Griezmann and
yeah.
limiting Griezmann's influence in the game.
Hmm.
And I feel like as far as that goes, he was successful.
Griezmann though, man, like I know
Griezmann
you
out of
have
the
to
game,
man
and
mark him.
so did
Yeah.
Atleti with Bellingham for most of the first half,
Hmm.
and the same with Vinicius, because Vinicius was tightly marked by Molina on that right.
Molina. He had his number, for a bit. Molina
Yeah,
was really
and
working his.
still the fact that
Mm,
he created something out of nothing and created that 1-0 chance for us. Again, he
mm,
does. He's been doing that for like 2 or 3 games in a row now, right?
yeah, yeah.
I mean, props to Vinicius, and I feel like
But Chouameni, you're impressed, yeah, regards
I
to
wouldn't say I
what
was
he's tasked with.
impressed, but I feel like he did his job just right. Tonight, as far as tonight goes,
Sometimes
limiting
he
Griezmann,
just
yeah, limiting
looks like.
Griezmann's influence in the game was yeah.
No, I get it. No, I get it. Griezmann is someone that needs the attention. He demands. Like I get it. He is pretty lethal. We kind of spoiled his 500th game or something. So
Yeah,
decent
yeah,
stuff. But Joe Mini, for me, at times he looks like he doesn't really have the spatial awareness that we require from a guy who's tasked with being our screen, right? Like he doesn't look around much. He's kind of caught in positions where some people have to really, really, basically like zoom
modify.
back
Yeah,
to, yeah, to get him out of trouble. So yeah, man, like Chouameni, he had a couple of good games. I don't remember, like last week I was kind of mentioning that he kind of have settled in a bit more compared to the first couple of weeks of the season. But now the more I see him in big games, the stats still stands. Yeah, we haven't lost with him in La Liga. Like it's
right.
good, but when you deep it, I still demand a lot of Chouameni. He had a couple of good balls. Like I remember the switch to Carvajal, pretty decent. But yeah, man, like he needs to be a lot more proactive. When it comes to stifling breakaways, in my opinion.
Again,
Um,
it's something that will just take a bit of patience and like time from
mm.
our perspective.
because Kamavinga is knocking on the door. You know.
I agree, but Kamavinga is not going to play in that single pivot role, or even as a double pivot. He might not start straight away. I feel like Chouameni for now, Ancelotti trusts him, and he's not going to like get displaced anytime soon. Even if Kamavinga is knocking on the door, Kamavinga is playing. He's opting to compete for that number 6 role, not maybe not Chouameni's. Sorry, the number 8 role, and maybe not Chouameni's role.
Mm,
But
mm,
that's just the way I feel about it, because
yeah.
Chouameni has big shoes to fill, and Ancelotti, he realizes that, right? So it might take some time for him to really get on that level where he's at least doing a job, a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10 every week, which currently is
Mm,
not.
mm.
But just like a couple more months from now, and
Some people are
yeah, we will be having a different conversation about Germany. That's just the way I feel about it.
some people are more of the opinion that Kamavinga is a better suited six who is better on the turn when receiving ball from the center backs, and there's a better with ball distribution in general. There is an opinion out there that Kamavinga is much more suited to that role, but it is something that we have to kind of keep our eyes on, especially once the
As the
season
season
gets
progresses, yeah.
into, yeah, the season gets into its crunch phases. But
Moving
um
on to the second half after Militao's goal.
yeah, after Militao's goal, let's talk about the goal for a second. Yeah, decent finish, very very good finish. He took his time, big backlift, connected with it as best as he could. Yes, it took a slight deflection, but kudos to him, man. Like this is his uh, first LW goal. He looked pretty chuffed. I was pretty chuffed for him as well. uh Pretty decent strike that should have been the winner, but
But
for
yeah,
some.
to be fair, it was just the kind of like you mentioned, it was just the kind of goal this game needed. for it to open up. Right?
Yeah.
Because it was cagey in the first half, and the opening 15 minutes of the second half, it was still Real Madrid going through the fields and trying to like open Atletico Madrid up, but still not fully committing to the idea of scoring that winner. So it needed something like that, maybe
Hmm.
like a moment of individual brilliance from
Yeah.
Vinicius, and then the finish from Militao. That's simply just what the game needed. I feel like
We still had some nice combinations even right before that. Even the corner
mm,
routine, Luka Modric to Fede, back to Luka, and Luka cuts it back to Rodrigo. That
yeah.
chance that just blazes over the bar. So
Yeah, so
we
again,
we
that was again
yeah
from it's something that comes from the training ground, right? That's
yeah 100%. Yeah.
so it needed
Yeah.
something like that. I just feel like again, uh I can't help but mention it again. I feel like we
Mm.
needed another one of those and we should kill the game off.
Mm.
The only reason
Oh,
I
yeah.
can the only reason I won't like I will cut them some slack for it was because
Mhm.
the game was paused in between and then we lost some momentum on the other on the other side of that of that pause.
Yeah. Do you want to delve into the pause?
Sure, sure.
Thibaut, being casted as the villain, has
Yeah,
been
last time
for
it was Vinny and this year it's Thibaut.
Vinny kind of was pretty quiet, right? Like he tried to kind of stay away from the limelight for a bit.
Yeah, and I feel
But
like
yeah.
there
Mm,
were reports coming out of Spain before the game that was
mm,
uh, those were direct instructions from Ancelotti
yeah.
to one keep away from the fans and to two keep away from the referee, who I feel like did a pretty decent job at the game.
Hmm.
Overall, he was pretty well suited for like a big fixture like this. I feel we are first to criticize referees when they get things wrong. But tonight, I feel like he managed the game really well. In the first half, he didn't give a lot of those fouls as yellow cards that I feel like a lot of other La Liga referees would have given. He let the
Militao's challenge on who was it? De Paul, or was it?
Leno.
I can't
I'm not
remember.
sure. Yeah, but yeah, overall he was pretty solid. I feel like he let the game run,
Hmm.
and yeah, and on both sides of it, he didn't like call too many
It could
unnecessary.
have gotten out of control pretty quick, but yeah.
Yeah, and even with the whole uh, fan situation in the 70th minute, I feel like he handled that pretty well because he communicated to Ancelotti and to Simeone and to the players before he called the game off, and he gave
Mm,
them reason for it because he didn't wait for the situation to escalate because I feel like that's something that he would have been told about before the game.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, so the fact that he didn't let the situation escalate to as bad as it could have gotten,
Hmm.
uh, that I feel like was respectable.
Yeah.
And again, the move that La Liga took earlier this week
Hmm.
to criminalize those fans that racially abused
Yeah.
Vinicius last year. I feel like
Yeah.
that's very small step in the right direction. But now with this another major incident in Spanish football, I feel like we need more and more of those little small steps from La Liga at the very least.
Mm. Yeah, La Liga, I don't have much hope in them as an institution. Like they are not really uh, they're not really adept in battling this long term. But let's see.
Hopefully, the
Let's try to
Spanish
be
police,
optimistic.
the
Mm,
Spanish police, man. If not La Liga, the Spanish police.
mm.
Because this is
I yeah.
hooliganism, man. If it goes on, you don't even know where it will lead to, right? It takes
Mm,
you back to some pretty like dark times, not just in football, in like world history.
yeah.
These guys, they're
Yeah.
not behaving like human beings, like decent human
Mm.
beings. They're not people who are coming here to watch football game, right?
Yeah, they have other agendas. Let's not delve into the trash can that these people are. Um, I would also like to point out that Debo was giving it to the crowd as well. Probably he
Hmm.
was giving it after the array
And you
of
know what? Even
abuses
if he
that.
did it before, bro, even if
Yeah.
he did it before,
Mm.
players do that all the time. To punch the
100%,
air and
100%.
to say a few words. Players do that all the time. As a fan,
Yeah.
as a grown adult, you're not supposed to let that. Just like even if you let it
Yeah.
piss you, off, you're not supposed to let that get you to an extent
Mm,
that you throw
mm.
a
But
pile of.
this isn't the first game in Spain, nor Europe, nor the world where objects are thrown onto the pitch. It's a
And
recurring
this time
theme.
it really crossed the line because their captain and their manager had to go to them and basically plead to them that
Mm.
maintain some
The
self-control.
magnitude of the fixture also,
Exactly.
is of a
Because then
different
it's not
scale.
just about the fans and the players, it's about like the game has to go on, right?
Yeah. Like imagine if the game actually got suspended and it was replayed, not replayed, basically resumed on another day for the last 20
Or
minutes.
perhaps
That
or
would have
perhaps
been
just
crazy.
forfeited, right? That was a possibility in itself as well.
Mm, mm. Yeah.
It will
But yeah,
take
man.
one of
Mm,
those major incidents of major like fines for
mm.
Atletico, not just like a monetary fine, but for like
Yeah.
a few games without fans for Atletico
Mm.
to actually do something
Yeah,
about it.
some
Because
some instant.
our club,
Yeah.
they banned the ultras years ago.
Mm.
So hopefully it takes something like this for them to ban these fascists out of the way, out of the stadium.
It's
Otherwise,
part
it's
of
gonna keep happening, man.
it's part of the atmosphere that they sell. Let's be honest, Madrid games, especially, like I don't live in Madrid. I haven't been to the Santiago Bernabeu, but my friends who have been there and guys like Sid always mention, without the ultras, the atmosphere really, really takes a hit. It's a distinct difference when they're inside the stadium and when they are not. So Atleti is, basically trying to protect some of their interests, especially in what they sell to the fans. So yeah, it's a slippery slope, man. The more we discuss on this, the more we see why the people who rule this world are, sitting where they are, and where we, the common men, we sit where we sit. Right? It's it's fine balance of power. I don't think it's going to be fixed anytime soon. We can hope and pray. We can be optimistic. But let me just get into a few of the comments.
Sure.
And without getting too overly political. Um, right. DMX. I think it's the Atleti fan from ages ago. He says, "Oh, Atletico." I hope you're celebrating the point, man. It's going to go a long way in your title winning season. I hope. Big up Ricardo, he was mentioning, literally continue to see no improvement in any form. Made a shit team like this score a goal out of nothing. And most importantly, Carlo continues to have this team playing bang average. Do you agree, Sahil? They scored a very bad goal. Let's be honest. He's basically stumbling, while trying to get some sort of connection on the ball. But
Yeah.
then the damning indictment on Carlo,
They will take the
that
point
he's
happily, man. More than happily, they will take the point.
mm,
It is
Carlo and average football. Is that public knowledge, or is that too harsh at this point?
a bit too harsh because the games leading into the Madrid derby have actually been pretty decent, right?
Mm, mm.
Uh,
For a couple of games, yeah.
yeah. So
Mm,
I feel like let it sit now, and the Madrid
mm.
derby is a game in itself that is like isolated from the others.
Yeah.
In the context of this league season, again, it is
Mm,
2 points dropped, and
mm.
it leaves us 3 points behind Barca. On a day where we had the perfect opportunity to cut that gap down to
How costly would that become the end of the season, Sahil? I think the repercussions are going to be graver than we think, because Barcelona in La Liga,
Hmm.
yes, Flick made one of his all-time. He made an all-timer. Uh, basically not giving Rafinha or Yamal the nod against Osasuna, and basically betting on some of his younger guns to do the job. I don't think he's going to do that again. No chance. So what is our way
Unless he's
in
supposed to,
apart
because
from beating them?
the
Mm,
injuries at the moment, the only thing that is on his mind when he
mm,
chooses a lineup like that is for his team to come away from that game without any injuries.
yeah.
With the frequency at which these injuries are coming at the high level
Mm,
right now
mhm,
because of the fixture congestion,
yeah.
I feel like it's something that every manager has to think about at any point in across the season. And the fact
Mhm,
that it's taken just 8 games for Flick to make such a radical move with his lineup
yeah.
is, again, just like a testament to the whole
Don't you think it's
situation.
naivety? I get the completely logical, the rationale, that you bring to this conversation. But don't you think it's naivety because he thought, this is another away outing at a team maybe like Bochum? Because Osasuna, El Sadar, people who have watched La Liga for years, who are well versed in what El Sadar is about, would think
Hmm.
twice before making
No,
such
yeah, from that
drastic
aspect,
decisions.
I agree. From that aspect, yeah, it does seem kind of
If
stupid.
he, if your team
Drop
manages to
all
make
your main
a guy
players
like
against.
Budimir look
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
decent,
It's just
you're
that he.
fucked up. Mm.
It's just that it would have served him well to do it against an opponent that isn't so like reckless or like
Yeah,
ruthless.
yeah.
But it's going to be a conversation that pretty much every team across Europe's top flight is going to have across the season, right?
There has to be games where
It's just that you've got to be smart
yeah.
about which games you're rotating and which games you're
Mm,
not, the extent to which you're rotating and the extent to
mm.
which you're
Carlo
which
will
games
never do such a
you're- no, you cannot
drastic
expect him.
change.
The
Yeah.
most drastic that we've gotten from Carlo in his 3 year tenure so far is what? Oh, shit,
Luka Modric as false nine. Yeah, that was a big experiment that never
I
worked
can't
out.
remember much that like even
He,
starting
yeah, he
Arda
does it.
Güler and Endrick and Brahim Diaz, all that is
Mm,
like pretty surprising to us, right?
mm. Yeah, yeah,
Change
yeah.
that's not forced, and Ancelotti is making a change that not forced by injury or by suspension. That is odd. So I would
Mm,
expect that Ancelotti is thinking about all of that
yeah.
uh, right now at least
He's
because
someone who plays by the book a bit more.
yeah, and
Mm,
with some of our players especially returning from injury now coming as
yeah.
well, I feel like that's a conversation that we can leave for later. Hopefully,
Mm.
like as December approaches and as the games come more and more.
It is the center backs that needs some rotation, much needed rotation. Um,
The only rotation they're getting right now is going from right to left. So
yeah, it's
I
no
don't know
pun
what you're
intended,
expecting with
but
that.
yeah,
I don't know what you're expecting, man.
it's a pretty dire straits, especially when it comes to our center back situation. Um, Let me get into a few more of the comments. Jakob here, big up yourself, long time, my friend. Hope you're well. He was asking, do you guys think Endrick needs to start games? He's always looking bright when he's on.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I have a very good point for that. The
Go on.
only few like minutes of football, barely any minutes of football that we've seen Enric so far,
Mm,
those
mhm.
have been cameos, right? And those have been
Yeah,
like at the deaths at the end of those games. And
yeah.
that's basically the perfect situation for Enric to enter the game in. And that is in a way hiding his flaws and like
Mm,
enhancing the brute force and like the raw power that comes with a player like Endrick.
mhm.
But we all know that he lacks a technical side of the game that someone like Mbappe
Yeah,
has.
yeah.
And he lacks the amount of football IQ that somebody like Vinicius and Rodrigo have developed over years. So these are
Mhm.
things that will come out if we start Enric. And you don't want to have that sort of like a negative conversation about a 16, 17-year-old just yet.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we obviously Ancelotti doesn't want it either. So you don't want that amount of negative like publicity.
Scrutiny is going to really pile on him. But let's be
Exactly.
honest, Jude Bellingham, broke on like what 40, 50 yards to basically be shunned. Um, I don't get it. I don't get it. It worked one time, Stuttgart, you know, uh,
And to be
pretty
fair,
pretty
he was
decent,
pretty close again.
pretty decent keeper. Nubel basically fumbled the bag, and
Yeah.
he got to score. But basically banking on it again, really, man, that was the point. The game had to be put away, or
Exactly.
bare
So I
minimum,
admire the
test the
confidence,
keeper.
but if you're having conversations about Endrick starting, then get ready to see the same
Yeah,
of that exact play 4 or 5
yeah,
times a game.
yeah,
Is why I'm
yeah.
not ready to have that
We
conversation.
have to give him time, but
Yeah.
I'll also caveat with the very fact that if he tends to get minutes at
Mm.
the longer at the more important end of you know uh, the games, like he would get a bit more accustomed to, match rhythm. He'll be a bit more smarter about how he moves, what passes to play, when
Mm.
to be and where to be in certain situations, especially when we are breaking away. I think it'll only come with games where he starts. When he's off the bench, it's all chaotic. The we are chaotic. The opposition is chaotic. It's basically him improvising and adapting to a given situation. So
Mm.
this is the most we can expect from, like you just said, a 16-year-old who is eager to impress. But yeah, this clip, it's gonna be shown. It's gonna be shown to him a minimum of like 10-15 times before he steps on the pitch next time, because I'm pretty sure the coaches are going to be really on it, because
Exactly.
yeah, like
It's,
Jude Bellingham was right there. He was right there.
yeah, and his, like, I feel like Hendrik, as good as he is, his combination play is non-existent because I watched that one
Yeah.
performance against Spain.
Hmm.
Uh, and pardon me for this. It's the only full 90 minutes I've watched of Hendrik so far, but that was
Hmm.
a disappointment. The
Mm.
way he couldn't connect with any of his teammates.
Uh,
That is
let's
something that
be
we.
honest, Sile. Brazil, I watch them every time they play. They are a League One side at this moment.
I do agree,
Um,
but
yeah.
we will have more of those negative criticisms on Hendrik's play
Mm.
if we start him.
Mm.
To an extent, I just feel
In
like at this
preseason,
point,
I think he did combine pretty well. Especially he had a kind of a telepathic understanding with Arda Güler, if you remember.
okay,
Like they combined pretty well. But yeah, it's not anywhere near the levels we would want in someone who's going
right,
to start and
right.
spearhead our attack, right? Like I completely get where you're coming from, but yeah, that side of the game and the game temperament and decision making needs to really improve. And he could have really grabbed the headlines if he just manages to break away, beat four man, and lay off the ball to Jude Bellingham, who has a tap in.
Mm.
Man, he could have easily been on tomorrow's newspaper. But yeah, left a lot to be decided. Left a lot to be decided. So I was really keen on him starting
Plus,
Yago here, but
he
yeah,
injured
it
a
looks like
cameraman.
a couple of reporters are basically, going home with bruises. But yeah, man, we expect better. We expect better. We see it. Our eye tests don't lie. We don't have the benefit of a guy like Francesco or Davide or Carlo, who has unlimited amount of data and metrics to really align what a player does on the pitch with what they think of them. But just an eye test, tells us that there is a player there who is, ready to explode. This guy is going to be a menace for years to come. Um, Jago was also mentioning, maybe too early for this, but how are you guys feeling ahead of Lille? Lille will be a game again to be completely regarded in isolation, because it's going to be a lot of heavy rotation, a lot of hope and pray.
Yeah,
I haven't watched Lille much, so I don't know what exactly their team shape is kind of looking like. Um,
but
but it's an
it's
away
more
game.
than anything. It's going to be a lot of game management. We would be okay with coming away with a scrappy 1-0 or 2-0, like we were
Yeah,
going to be,
yeah.
like we were almost given tonight. So I feel like
Hmm.
it's going to be more of the same again. We won't see more of uh like a recap from before. Or we won't see 90 minutes or 85 minutes of good football. So don't expect that if you're looking for that.
Flame Boy, back up yourself. He was mentioning, I don't know why, but I think if Mbappe was not injured, we could have won. Um, I don't know, bro. This
Easy to say
game
now.
is. What was that, Sile?
Easy to say now.
100%, 100%. So Mbappe, we also Mbappe, how he kind of, is still struggling to, kind of have a synergy, have some sort of a correlation with how we operate.
And the
He,
first time he seems to
yeah,
have gotten hold of that, he gets injured.
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. There were some very promising signs, especially against Alaves. But yeah, man, let's hope. Let's hope he'll be back very quickly. After the international break. Um, Prince G was mentioning Barcelona is still crap. I hope they are still crap, bro. Come come the next weekend, because we just need them to really lose their shine ASAP. Big up Marcus. He was mentioning Ancelotti always makes stupid substitutions this season. Did the same against Alaves, making them score 2 late goals, but he escaped. Tonight also he did the same rubbish after leading with a goal. Harsh. I would still say, maybe there is a valid argument. If you pull a guy like Vinicius out of the game, it really frees up the stuff that the opposition have to worry about. Especially later in the game. But the 11, no matter who we have, regardless of what quality or where in the pecking order they are, in terms of talent or squad standing or whatever the fuck it is, these guys should be capable enough to see out a game. It's what, 5-6 minutes? Come on, man! Like we had the most makeshift defense in our entire maybe 124-year history against City, and we saw the game at the Bernabeu. It was caveated.
It's a
It was
mentality
at the Bernabeu.
problem, it's a mentality problem, not a lineup problem or an individual problem. It was easy to blame Vallejo when
We're
we
really
almost gave
good
it away
at
against
handling
Alaves.
mentality. I think it's a complete lack of it's a head loss. Let's be honest, side. Mentality would be
Basically
completely.
that, like, again,
Yeah.
mentality is not the most accurate word, but
Yeah.
like, you've got to stay calm in those moments, and you've got to make sure that you are
And let's be honest, side.
an inch of space on this level
Yeah,
against teams like Atletico, because they get doubly as hungry beyond the 90th minute.
100%. You just saw they just Eusebio started his whole fucking opera on his end, and then the substitutions came on thick and fast. But you should also point out that Correa, he had a huge slice of luck, especially if you notice in the replay. Militao basically pushes the ball back onto his path, making it easier for Correa to latch onto it and basically have some sort of contact with it. Because if Militao and Correa is if Militao is better position, or Militao is in any other position trying to defend Correa, and his leg is kind of in a different angle, it never really gets knocked down back into the path of Correa. Because it kind of gets knocked back down straight in front of him, it basically becomes a matter of, I gotta make some sort of contact with it. And unfortunately for us, he managed to do it, and a very meek goal. It's like one of those. This is the very PG podcast. I just had a very funny analogy. I really want to plug here, but yeah, this just looked like one of those goals that we just wouldn't like even our worst enemies to concede, because it just looked like they didn't even deserve it at this point. FIFA has worse goals, but yeah, I get your point. Thibaut had a couple of good saves he had to make. Remember,
especially after
against
the
Lino.
started rallying up.
Yeah, like
And then
he stood tall.
And even apart from that, I noticed that he was on the ball a lot more backwards passes today, because we were choosing to play the game safe when we had the ball. So again, he did well under pressure, and I don't think he could have done much about that 1v1 against Korea, because somebody there helped him.
He made the opening save of the game against Alvarez. Pretty decent save as well.
I agree, and somebody there should have helped him out on the goal that we did concede, either Militao or God, like fortune, whatever.
Militao as well. I've written this down. Okay, something that I really liked about his game today. Although he had a lot of iffy moments, the moment where he kind of tries to win the ball from Alvarez, and he does this cheeky back heel, to which Alvarez instantly gets booked and gets taken off. That was a bit satisfying to see, because Alvarez is an eternal villain for us. If you remember, with City, he has had some history with us, so super satisfying to see stuff like that. But one thing I would like to pose, Sahil, Fala Mendy. I'm his biggest advocate. I've defended him for years. A game like tonight, really makes me wonder, Fran Garcia, he should be given a shout.
Right, and there's not even much to say about Falan Mendy apart from the fact that he doesn't like add any value to our game. If anything, like look at this, literally. I
At
have
this point, he's
notes.
becoming a detriment.
I have notes under all of the other players, and under Falan
Mm,
Mendy, all it says is non-existent
mm,
because he
yeah.
doesn't like to me. He doesn't add any value when going forward.
Mm,
So it's either Vinicius or Bellingham or somebody else on that left hand side who's dropping in and out of possession to do something like out of the blue, but it's never Mendy initiating something on the left hand side, and that is something that worries me. So again,
mm.
like you said, Fran, especially with the amount of times he's been coming off the bench, he has to be considered at some point.
Yeah, man. Mendy has to really tidy up his game management. He was someone, you know, when people used to go for his head, I used to basically, um, basically buy level 3 armor, to protect this man, because for me, I always associated Mendy with the guy who would get out of even the most stickiest situations. Like he would find himself in a fucking well, but he would somehow climb his way out of it. Uh, Basically, without any help. He was just that determined. I felt like in some situations where the team basically looked like they were in a rut, but
Even that
performances
kind
like
of
tonight,
thing has
mm,
subsided.
yeah. Now it's
Used to
basically
call
team.
him
I don't know if
Zinedine
it's
Mendy, remember?
Zinedine Mendy, 100%. Some of his pirouettes and whatnot, like it's pretty damn
You can make a
cool.
pretty cute highlight reel out of that.
100%. I don't know if it's early season blues, and this is him getting into zone, because he was pretty imperious last season. I
Yeah.
just hope he's getting there, and is really looking forward to kind of building upon where he ended on last season.
Right.
And I hope the coaching staff gives Fran Garcia the incentive. Watch what Mendy is doing, motivate him. Right? How do you motivate him? Start games and put on a show. Hopefully that dynamic basically helps our left side have a bit more
Healthy
identity to it.
competition, yeah.
Yeah. At this point, it's screaming out for someone to basically uh, take the left back position. Like I hope it's not Camavinga, man. Like I hope and pray it's not Camavinga. Um, but yeah, Rudiger, decent. Had a couple of brilliant clearances on Sorloth. He completely took Sorloth out of the game whenever he tried to
Yeah.
do, anything remotely consequential. Like I think Rudiger single-handedly made him get substituted at the 50th, 55th
Yeah.
minute. Like it was something that I didn't expect happening, because Sorloth, was the guy who scored four, wasn't it four against us last
Yeah,
season? So
Villarreal Madrid last season, towards the end of last season. I think
yeah,
last game week.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Rudiger has a knack of doing this, right? He
Mm,
takes most lethal strikers out of the game and he deems them basically ineffective. He's done it
mm,
now, Solot before with Haaland, and back in his Chelsea days with a lot of like Aguero's and your
yeah.
yeah, it's just a Rudiger thing to do.
Mm, 100%. A couple more of the comments before we slowly start wrapping this up. Rahul Dev, big up Rahul, he was mentioning Nacho also retired for Madrid, but plays for the national team. Why are you guys not mentioning him, only Tony? Um, yeah, I mean, Nacho is someone we can overlook because of what Tony is. The stature Tony is at and what he brought to the team is on a different level. That's why Nacho really doesn't get talked about enough. Like
Now
I've always said
I'll give
this.
you a simple,
Mm,
definitive answer.
mm,
And this is not like without going into much detail. Our
yeah,
defensive woes, as bad as we've been in moments this season,
yeah.
none of that has been down to uh letting
Centre
Nacho go,
backs.
like letting Nacho go, right?
Yeah.
As much as he could play in any position across the back line, that's not
Mm,
on. Like we could have even with Nacho in the squad or in the team, even we could have conceded where we've conceded this season. And that's
Mm.
not to say that our defensive record has been terrible this season. It's actually been quite decent. But the overall dysfunctionality in terms of control, in terms of clarity in possession,
Yeah.
is down to the fact that we don't have a Tony. Simply put, that.
I would argue, we wouldn't concede the last two goals we considered against Alaves if Nacho came on instead of Vallejo.
Yeah, but it's
That's
overall, and
yeah.
it's not a defensive uh problem that Nacho leaves behind.
Yeah, but come the end of the season, we might be looking at Nacho being as equally bad of a miss, compared to Tony as well, because Nacho, let's be honest, there'll be games in the Champions League, there'll be games in Copa del Rey where we'll need bodies, man. And Nacho was more than a body, let's be honest. Rahul Dev, it's just putting the team into perspective. Sahil gave you a pretty good breakdown, and that's what the fan base and I would resonate with most as well. Yeah, he was also mentioning Nacho as one of the key players at the back. But yeah, he's a troll. Right, Enric is not a better player. He is a showcase. Right, Rahul. I beg you to basically watch a bit more football and get accustomed to what players of talent do and what people you claim are showboats does. Maybe look at a couple of clips of what Rafinha used to be at Leeds, right? If you're a Barca fan, if you support Atleti, maybe look at who is the best example, man? Atleti, like there's no one even with a bit of magic in Atleti. I think you can't even
Griezmann, I
bring up
guess.
an example. Griezmann used to be good, right? We all saw what he was at the Euros. He was basically subbed off uh, during so many of their crucial moments, and
And he was
didn't
dropped in the
even get a
semi-final.
look in. What was that sign?
He was dropped in the semi-final.
Yeah, he didn't even get a look in for the semi-final. So yeah, Griezmann is washed up. Although people might say he is Atleti's biggest threat and whatnot. Farouk is a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan of Farouk mentioning it, but yeah, man, get a
You're not
bit
a
more
huge fan of
seasoned.
Farouk, full stop.
Because we have differences, right? Not a huge fan of him in football terms, right? Like you have to
Right,
be a bit more
that.
specific. Because as a man, like
In
he is,
reference.
you can't get much better than Farooq. The package. Big
Very
up
true.
Farooq. Big up himself. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. Sahil, any closing thoughts quickly?
Yeah, I mean, again, a game that we would have wished that we came away with 3 points in, but
Hmm.
there was a lot going on in that second half. Again, after a very dull first half,
Yeah.
uh, the pause and like even the stoppage time in itself was a
Hmm.
movie in its own. The red card
Yeah.
to Vente, and then like endless drama in that extra time for
Mm.
a game that began very dull, to say the
Yeah.
least. So again, for the neutral, it's entertainment. Um, in some aspects, especially with the hooliganism and with the game being called off for 20 minutes, you would say that it's not football, it's La Liga again. And La Liga keeps giving. But
Yeah.
overall, we've just got to do better as a team, as Real Madrid, and uh, we like in hindsight, Barca losing was a big opportunity for us, and we just didn't
Mm.
take the so that
Yeah.
coming away from tonight is my biggest disappointment.
We played the Classico in less than a month. So how big would it have been walking into the Classico with a point deficit? Now we have to basically make sure that we win.
Absolutely, and from here again, we keep saying this after every game. We have to win each game, because Barca might not let up till the Clasico, and we have to go into the Clasico at least with a 3 point deficit, if not less. Uh, so yeah, to that, I will just say let's go on to the Champions League now. Do a good job in Lille. and then come back to La Liga after the international break with Mbappe.
Villarreal at home is going to be another test. They have been really, really good this season.
Absolutely. And they beat us last season. So after the international break, we have Mbappe back. We have fit Kamavinga. We have an entirely fit squad. So I just hope things start fresh again.
Yeah.
Just that.
A bit more ironing out would really help this team. Uh, there is some cohesion building. There is some magic that is slowly starting to creep in. I just hope, like I always say, during my initial years as an Madridista, like I used to wonder, like, why do we get to really have months where we basically sleepwalk through the season at the beginning, and then all of a sudden we just click into gear post January. I just hope it's the case again. I just hope we go all in, post Christmas, and leading up to Christmas, we have to see clear signs where the team is heading. As of now, it's kind of a muddled mess. We get promising signs one week, the next week it's kind of a stunt again to grab points. So I just hope there's a bit more clearer picture, forming itself as every match day passes. And unfortunately, tonight it was anything but that. But yeah, Atleti, El Derbi, we have to look at it in isolation, like we discussed. But big up people in the chat. Big up our sponsors, Manscaped. Big up Fanatics. Go check them out. LBI20 to get 20% off at Manscaped and free shipping as well. Fanatics, go check them out. Use the link in the description below so that they know you guys came through us. Go check them out. Official partners of Real Madrid and La Liga. Big up our listeners on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music as well. If you didn't know, we are also available on Amazon Music. Thank you guys for the continued support over the years, for sending us positive, negative feedback. It's been a wonderful journey, and I have to really say, I'm super humbled, when you guys tell us that we accompany you on night drives, gym routines, all that. Even some guys even listen to us while cooking. So I hope we can bring on enough flavor to your daily lives, and we can add to the experience that we are just fans, just like you guys, and I hope we can resonate. You guys resonate with some of our views. If you disagree, just don't resort to getting it personal. Apart from that, with the guys who keep it civil, like we always have a one-on-one conversation, which I thoroughly enjoy. Big up our partners on Instagram, Real Madrid Committee. They're on a brilliant Real Madrid fan page. OGs, they have been with us since day one. Go check them out as well. Hopefully, we'll be back with the Lille preview tomorrow. Farouk and Jacob, I think 3 p.m. EST. Post match it'll be probably me and Sahil again. Keep your eyes peeled out for that one. Champions League away night in France. Mbappe brothers meet again, I think. But yeah, Mbappe is injured. Mbappe is injured though. Probably he might travel just to dine with them. I don't know what they're about, but hopefully we have a good night out. But yeah, people. Until next time. Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid, guys.